Hey, it's Bill. I was doing some sunset photography over Lake Michigan last week. Didn't have my external flash with me and wanted to throw some light from the flash that's built into my camera down onto the foreground to kind of light up the rocks that were down there. So I put together a little video on how I did it. Hope you enjoy it. Alright, so here's the picture that I took. Set up my picture on my tripod. Got it set up, kind of did my framing, did all of that through my camera. Took the picture, and you'll notice that the rocks are very dark. Okay, so I didn't like that. I don't think it adds anything to the picture. I probably could do some cropping, which would make it a nice picture. You know, you wouldn't see necessarily the rocks. It was almost with the way it would have to be cropped here. It'd have to be cropped up here. It'll look a little bit more like a panel. Might not all be too bad. But I like the rocks down here in the foreground. So what I did is I wanted to light them up. I had a couple of choices. One of those, of course, would be to do an HDR shot or a high dynamic range photograph. The other one would simply be to light up the rocks, which is what I chose to do. I probably, in reality, would do this with a real or a secondary flash that I could control a little bit. I could control the lighting a little bit. Maybe I would make it a little bit orange with, or something to that effect. I didn't have any of that with me, so I needed to kind of deal or use what I had. So I had the pop-up flash on my Canon camera. So that's what I used. I turned on my flash, turned up my picture, or turned on my flash, and when I turned on my flash, played around a little bit to kind of deflect the light down more than out. And then I ended up with this image here with the rocks kind of lit up in the foreground. So I think it's a much, I like it. It almost makes the rocks come alive a little bit more. And it looks real. It looks more like what you would actually see when you're there. Again, different flash. I could have had a little bit more power control on my power settings. And if I would have had that, I would have had my gels as well, so I could have concealed the color. But this is pretty much my final image that I did. We're playing around with this here a little bit. So let's talk about how I did it. Here's the camera. My Canon camera, and what I did is over here on the side I have a button that actually just goes ahead and opens up my flash. So I clicked on the flash button, it opened up my flash. While this was up on the tripod, the flash is here, so it's going to spread out. Okay, it's going to kind of come out this way and get bigger and larger. Now the built-in flashes have a much smaller range than what one of the external Canon flashes do, or in my case my 580 or my 580EX2. But what I did is I wanted to throw that light down. So if I would kind of block the light from coming up and actually put my hand more or less here in front of the camera, what's going to actually happen is it's going to take this light that's coming from my camera, it's going to hit my hand that's up here, and it's going to start to bend it down. Okay, so I had my hand up here probably just about like this, had my fingers kind of spread out, so it actually hit this and be deflected down. So one of the things that I normally shoot with, or one of the things that I found out, is when you put the lens hood on, or the shade, that when you take the picture and you cup your hands like this, it actually, the light's coming down but it hits this. So what was actually happening is actually casting a shadow. So when I actually took the picture, I had to keep my lens, my lens hood off, which I normally don't like to shoot that way, but I needed to do it here so I wouldn't have a black area down on the rock, so the actual light would be bounced down. Now, if you had something like I didn't, a simple white piece of paper that you could simply bring, here's the camera again, I put the camera up here and reflect it down, then it'll bounce down, probably do a better job than my hand, but since I didn't have any of that, I simply used my hand as the reflector to bounce that light down. Just want to let you know that you don't need a Canon camera to do this. Any camera will work. You can use the same idea with point and shoots with digital SLR, which is the kind of camera I used when I was actually taking these pictures. But anyone will work. I suppose you could get a little color cast depending on what you're using to actually reflect that light. So I'd try and keep it as white or as true to the color that you want to be reflected as possible.